let's start with mine. Top 5 NFL running backs for 2022. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, where's Nick Chubb? And my answer to that is he's number 6. Here's who I got. Jonathan Taylor at 1. Derrick Henry at 2. Christian McCaffrey at 3. Dalvin Cook at 4. And Alvin Kamara at 5. And I want to explain this. And shout out to Aaron Taylor, our buddy on social media who's also been on the show. Here's why I have Jonathan Taylor as the number 1. I think he's the most complete back in football. I think he's the most complete back. It's not just about being a good runner. We talk about this all the time. Najee Harris, a guy that some people will have on this list.
I do.
Why did he go back to Alabama? Work on pass pro, route running, and catching the ball. Because that makes you a complete player. Complete player gets you drafted higher. Complete player lets you play longer. Complete player keeps the defense on their toes the most. Jonathan Taylor can catch the ball in the backfield, run after the catch. He can run with the ball. He can pass pro. And you never really hear about anything off the field, any problems with him. So I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor 1. Derrick Henry is somewhat of an exception to the rule here. Okay? Is Derrick Henry the greatest pass catcher out of the backfield? No. But he can pass pro because he's a monster, and he's the best downhill runner in the NFL. His ability to run downhill and move laterally, that's what separates him. There's a lot of big guys that have been big running backs that can run straight forward. They can run in a straight line. They can run from A to B. But what makes Derrick Henry so dangerous is he is a monster running straight on. He can jump cut. He can move laterally. I know he's coming off the knee injury. And then the third one, Christian McCaffrey. Haru, the great white ninja. He's 100% a witch. He's Haru. He's Haru in living form. Could probably be one of the best receivers in the league at the slot. He's unbelievable with the ball in his hands, whether it's a zone run, whether it's a gap scheme run, power, counter, insert, any of that stuff. He can run it outside well. He can run it inside well. And I don't think he's from this planet. Dalvin Cook, been one of the most consistent backs in the NFL for a long time. And guess what he's going to be next year? Consistent. He's got the burst. He can move laterally as well. But the thing I like about Dalvin Cook is he is as dangerous catching the ball out of the backfield, whether it's on the swing, whether it's on the angle, whether it's on some play action wheel that they roll, and they're not afraid to throw him the ball in big situations. And then Alvin Kamara at 5 is just a Swiss Army knife. He's a Swiss Army knife. Mm-hmm. He's a matchup problem. Is he the biggest guy running the ball? No. Is he the best downhill runner? No. You can make an argument he's one of the best lateral runners with the ability to cut back. Alvin Kamara on the zone run is scarier than a supervillain staring at the top of a castle with a wand in his hand. So when I look at these 5, you can make an argument for Nick Chubb. You can make an argument for Najee Harris. I think you can even make an argument for Javonte Williams, who in my opinion is next up. And I know Blaine's got one at 5. It's going to be awfully interesting. What do you guys think about my list, though?
I like it. I have 3 of them.
Good, man.
You have 3 of them?
Quality.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's shocking.
Quality. Congrats on that.
All right, Blaine, you're up.
Am I up?
Like the continent.
All right. Let me introduce you to the correct top 5. NFL running back. Just like, Jonathan Isaac agreed with me with LeBron. Agreed with me with a lot of stuff. I'm starting to think I'm right a lot more than I thought I was. First of all, Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor gets knocked a lot because their offensive line is extremely good at the Colts. But you watch Johnny, he can't help that. You watch Jonathan Taylor run. What can he not do? I mean, lateral, get through the huddle, run through guys, outrun guys. He's the best back, and after the numbers he put up last year, I don't know how you don't put up at number 1. So JT's still my number 1. And then Dalvin Cook at number 2. I've always been a huge Dalvin Cook fan. He's kind of been slowed down a little bit by injuries. His shoulder cannot figure it out.
Happens at that possession.
And he's averaging 19 touches a game. He's averaging almost 4.8 yards per carry with one of the worst offensive lines in the league. And you can plug in Dalvin Cook on any offense in the NFL, and he will be amazing. He's one of the fastest guys, one of the most explosive guys, and he also will run through you if he has to.
He's got great vision, too.
Great vision, the pre-cuts, just his feet and his footwork is amazing. I love watching Dalvin Cook run. I think the Minnesota Vikings will get better up front, and they have a lot of weapons on that team. That's why I don't think Dalvin gets enough touches. The Adam Thielens, just everybody on the team is phenomenal. I mean, Jefferson. Then Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, in my opinion, is the best runner of the football.
I can agree with that.
But just running the football doesn't make you the best running back in the NFL. And I caught a lot of flack. You have to be able to do more things. Yep. Derrick Henry is not a 3-down back. All right. If it's 3rd and 6, Derrick Henry's not running a whip route. He's not beating a linebacker in passing to get you that first down. And I think that is a huge part of being a great running back in the NFL. You look at it, he gets 28 touches a game. That's a lot.
So technically he really is a 3-down back.
They hand it to him
on depending on the third down.
You out of 3rd and 6.
Depending on the third down. But you look this year, he only averaged 4.2 yards per carry.
It's still pretty good.
Which is good, but that's not as good as Jonathan Taylor. It's not good as Dalvin Cook. And this was one of his lowest yards per carry. And I know he got hurt, but from where he plays, one of his lowest yards per carry of his career.
How much do you think Ryan Tannehill not being an elite thrower of the ball or scaring people through the air? Because, look, Ryan's made some good throws, but when it comes to in aggregate, him being able to push the ball down the field, push the ball laterally, being able to go from one hash to the other, not that he doesn't have the arm strength, but he struggles really to make the intermediate throws, in my opinion.
I think it's huge, but I don't think Ryan Tannehill's a bad thrower of the ball down the field. He's a good deep ball thrower.
No, that's what I'm not saying that deep ball. I'm talking about the intermediate passing game. I'm talking about throwing the dig, being able to, throw the sail to the field when you're running off the corner with the vertical when you got 2x2. Like he struggles to do those things that you have to do in the NFL.
Yeah, and it gets to the point where they're just going to stack the box again.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're playing the Titans, who you got to stop?
And that's why maybe it'll get figured out sooner or later. People are going to want Ryan Tannehill to beat him through the air. That's why I think that kind of almost a knock on my list a little bit. People are stacking the box against Derrick Henry, but still, when you're a back like that, all right, and you're averaged almost 30 touches a game, and the injury that he had to his foot, you usually don't last a super long time in this league
running backs
when you're getting that many carries and that many touches a game against, I don't care who you are. I know Derrick Henry looked like he literally just landed on this planet and has been killing aliens for 3 movies at least, right? Great running back, not my number 1, our number 2. Christian McCaffrey. The guy's just a witch, man. He's just an absolute witch. One thing about him, man, he can't. This list is based off staying healthy. Okay, like Christian McCaffrey has barely played a season, if a season. I think he played 10 games in the last 2 years or something like that. But Christian McCaffrey, between the tackles, outside the tackles.
That's why Saquon's not on this list.
Yeah, outside the tackles, he can do it all. He really can do it all. And his footwork, you haven't seen this good of a footwork from a running back, in my opinion, in a long time. In a long time. And then number 5, all right. Is this a little bit of a homer pick? Maybe.
I wasn't.
But go look at it, all right? No, realistically, go look at it. You want to talk about, the best pass-catching running back in the NFL? That's him right there. Best route-running running back in the NFL? That's him right there. He gets 12 touches a game running the ball. That's not enough. It's not enough. If you're the Chargers, you need to start leaning on him a little bit more because Austin Eckler can do it between the tackles. He might be a little guy, but he's quick and he runs heavy.
He doesn't get squared up.
He runs heavy. And I'll go back to it, all right? Led the NFL in receiving by a lot. Averaging 4.4 yards a carry. That's pretty solid. He's kind of an older guy, but he runs like he's young. And Austin Eckler is almost, in my opinion, that exception. I think he's 27. But, man, he just looks like he's 24, 25. And I think Austin Eckler will play a long time in the NFL. And I don't know if everyone's big fantasy players out there. Second best fantasy running back in the league.
Yeah, he's the most Patriot-style running. I can just imagine what Bill Belichick would do with Austin Eckler in that offense or Tom Brady and them when he was with the Patriots once you got into the red zone. But I don't think you're crazy putting 5.
The only thing that scares me about Alvin Kamara, you lose Drew Brees. You lose your head coach. Last year, he averaged 3.5 yards a carry. It's his lowest of his career. Only caught 47 passes.
Well, look at the had. Look at the had.
Yeah, I know that. I'm saying that's going to hurt him. At the end of the day, you have to perform. All right, you have to perform, man. Dalvin Cook's putting up these numbers with the 25th best offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, that's why I had Dalvin at number 4. I believe. All right, Cone, are you ready for your list?
Let's do it. Let's pull it up.
The David Cone list, running back list of friendship and everything else.
I went back and forth on Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor at 1. I have a collection on here of younger guys and some guys who have been consistent for the last few years. To me, for the number 1 spot, I had to go with a guy who has just done it for several seasons, right? We have a larger sample size than just one season. So I put Derrick Henry at the top, but what Jonathan Taylor did last year was unbelievable, and I don't see that slowing down for him, so I have him in my number 2 spot. To me, Zeke Elliott, look, he still went for 1,000 last year, 10 touchdowns, only 1 fumble. Again, another example of we have have a large sample size of him being a tremendous running back in the NFL. I'm going to say the same thing about Christian McCaffrey at 4. Are their best football days ahead of them, or are they behind them? I can't speak to that. I don't know. I just love watching both those guys play. I do have Christian McCaffrey on the list at 4 just because he can do so many things. Again, we've seen him do it. I know that these past 2 seasons weren't his highest production years, but I just think that, the moment you count Christian McCaffrey out is the moment that he's the number 1 fantasy player again and, goes for 1,500 or something like that. Then number 5, look, Najee Harris. I've watched him do this at Alabama. A great season last year, 1,200 yards. I think that he's one of those guys who we could be looking at in 10 years, and he's still toting the rock for a team. Honorable mention to me, look, Alvin Kamara. I agree with what Blaine's saying, but he can do so many things. He's always a weapon. Nick Chubb, like you were saying.
Yeah, Nick Chubb was 6 for me.
And then last honorable mention for me, Saquon Barkley, because I still believe, and I hope that I'm looking back on this list 3 years from now, and I hope I'm disappointed that I didn't have the faith to put Saquon on here, because football is better when he is doing his thing. I mean, he's an unbelievable back, and, again, maybe his best football days are behind him, but I hope not.
I hope not either, because he's an immense talent. I mean, he's got as much potential. I mean, we've seen it already in the NFL, what he was able to do for the Giants when he is healthy. You're just hoping he's able to maintain his health going forward. Blaine, Booster Club.
Boring Florida Man says, Blaine, where is Nick Chubb?
Again, God, this list, and I know I think you're going to argue the Browns' offensive line. There's been a lot of running backs that have had Nick Chubb at 6 in the NFL is not a bad place to be.
No.
First of all, is Nick Chubb in my top 7, 8 running backs? For sure. But you watch Kareem Hunt come in, right? Even Dearness Johnson come in. These guys came in and put up the same numbers Nick Chubb was putting up. Am I saying Nick Chubb is a phenomenal running back? But when I see a second string and a third string guy come in and put up the same output for a certain amount of time over games at the same UR, I start to lean on a little bit more of the Browns' offensive line than you are running back. I'm not saying Nick Chubb's not a top 10 back. I have eyes, I can watch him run, but I don't think he's a top 5 running back, in my opinion. And Nick Chubb's not a phenomenal catcher of the football. He's a heavy runner. He's more between the tackles guy. He'll run through you.
He's a little more old school.
You're a little more old school running back. But when I saw Dearness Johnson come in, when I saw Kareem come in and have huge success, just like Nick was having, I start to lean a little bit more on the offensive line.
Hey everybody, if you like what you're hearing, go ahead and ring that bell. We're excited to be here. It's Crain and Company live 2 to 3 Central daily. Ring that bell. I want to hear it from coast to coast.